All right, so this year's draft, Jabari Smith on FanDuel is the favorite to be the number one pick. He is plus 105. Chet second at around 2-1, and then Paolo is plus 270. We talked about this on the Ringer Gambling Show today, and my advice there was, I think Jabari is going to be the number one pick, and I think this is our last chance to have plus odds on Jabari, basically, because by the time we get to June, as more and more people study his shooting, how bad his guards were, how he just fits into pick a lottery team, he fits in with them. There's no lottery team where it's like, we can't. Don't know what we're going to do with this 6'9" shooter who's just a good athlete. I don't know if he's going to play for us. I think by the time we get to around the draft, he's like minus 200 at least. What's your top three now? You have Jabari first still?
No, I've been a Chet guy all year. I'm still a Chet guy. When you all shake it all out.
But you don't think he's going first though?
Oh, in terms of how it's going to shake out in the draft, the order. I mean, I've heard a lot of Jabari buzz recently in terms of teams really loving his game. But I got to say, ultimately, I respect anybody who gambles on a draft order before the draft order is set. I respect that because that's literally gambling. I mean, obviously, it's going to depend on who goes number one, which team. I mean, every team is different, right? What do they value? It's hard to say. I mean,
but at the very least, Paolo's not going to go first, I don't think. I think that's the one we can cross off.
It seems like it, but I think there's an argument for it. I'm very confused. To me, I'm surprised at the amount of Jabari buzz there is. I didn't see him and say, oh, he's for sure the best player in this draft this year. I'm a little surprised, honestly.
What worries you about him?
I think number one, I was talking about 2-point percentage. And yes, he's had bad guards. But I went back and looked at the last 10 years. So guys who played college basketball, their last year of college, who went in the top 5. Care to guess where Jabari Smith's 2-point percentage is? And I thought of probably 60, 70 guys, 50 guys who were top 5 in the last 10 years.
Oh, no.
Care to guess where it is?
Is he near the bottom?
Dead last.
Oh.
By a significant margin.
Uh-oh.
Not the end of the world, but to me, that just tells you this is not a guy who's getting easy shots for himself. He's a guy who depends. You're right. He had bad guards, but what does that tell you? It's he needs to be set up. He's not one who's going to, not only is he not going to get shots for himself, he's not setting anyone else up for shots either. And that to me is the concern if he's number one. I would like to have somebody who can create his own shot, create shots for others if he's my number one overall pick. And that's me. I think Chet and Paolo are ahead of Jabari in those categories. Jabari is the best shooter, but it's that is by necessity, that's a skill. That means you're the number 2 for somebody else, right? If you're on the perimeter spotting up, you're not the primary option. You're spacing the floor for someone else to be the primary. Whereas I think Chet and Paolo can handle a bigger load on offense. And let me make the case for Chet real quick.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
If you look at last year's draft, okay, who were the 2 players who rose the most after their rookie season? In the draft, it would be Scotty Barnes and Franz Wagner. Now, if you go back to their last year in college, these are both guys who only averaged 10, 11, 12 points a game. They weren't primary options. And I think everyone recognized that they were very skilled. They were top 10 picks, top 5 for Scotty. But it was, at the end of the day, when a guy's not scoring a lot, it's kind of hard sometimes to see him. You don't necessarily expect, a guy's going to go to the NBA and score more than he did in college. But that does happen. It happened with Scotty, it happened with Franz. And you look at their efficiencies, they're very efficient in a smaller role in college, which indicated maybe there's untapped room. And then Chet was incredibly efficient. I think one of the most efficient seasons ever at Gonzaga. I think there's more room to grow there on offense than people might realize. And then everything else he does, he's 7 feet. He's an excellent defender. He's a really smart player. He's got the length on everyone. I think there's room for Chet to grow that people aren't giving him enough credit for.
Wow. All right, so Houston gets first pick. Who would you want? You think they take Chet or Jabari?
If they already passed on Mobley, that's what I wonder. Is Chet in a lot of ways like a lesser Mobley? So if you already passed on Mobley once,
but did you pass on it because you love Jalen Green?
Maybe. Me personally, I would take Chet number 1 almost regardless. I think for Houston, it'd probably be Chet or Jabari. Yeah.
If I'm looking at teams that I just know if Chet goes there, he's going to fail, Houston, Orlando, Detroit, OKC, Indiana, Portland. Orlando's the one that jumps out at me. And I don't think they would take him either because they have 100 centers, but I just don't like the thought of him in Orlando.
I think Orlando's the team I would bet on the most would take Chet because they're so wingspan oriented, right? This is the guys from Milwaukee. They drafted Mo Bamba 6 basically because he had long arms a couple of years ago. They're going to pass up on the big wingspan length 7-footer. I don't think so. Plus him and Jalen Suggs played high school ball together. So there's that little connection as well.
I feel like we have to bring in Steve Cerruti for a quick second. Diehard Orlando Magic fan. One of 2 on the Ringer staff somehow. Cerruti, given all the Orlando baggage with this team and some of the big man misfires, can you walk us through your emotions just hearing Tjarks say that Chet was a good option for the Orlando Magic?
I agree with him. I've told
what's
this
going
so
on?
Chet, let's go.
If I had the first pick, I'm to the point where I would be disappointed if the Magic didn't take Chet because, again, like all the things that he can do, and you're 100% right, Tjarks. Like he is, if the Magic could create a guy in a lab that they would draft, it would be Chet Holmgren. Like that is who they take. That is their history. Now their draft lottery luck is terrible, so I assume they won't get the first pick. But I would genuinely be disappointed if they didn't take Chet number 1.
Let's go.
Wow, maybe we should be looking at Chet for the odds. I think Chet was like plus 190, something like that. Maybe Chet's the guy. Maybe that's the bet.
If Orlando wins the lottery, I would hammer Chet real hard that night before the odds move too much. That's what I would do.
And then you don't have to pay Bamba either. So there you go. It's a win-win.
So you let Bamba leave. I mean, you already won with the freaking Vucevic trade. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. It's highway robbery.
How about Orlando finally winning a trade? When was the last time that happened? I guess you technically won the Dwight Howard trade because you got a whole bunch of things.
Well, that's the trade nobody won, but yes.